That way you guys can hear me better. So what I did was, this is the original card that I made last week. So I just went ahead and I did the same thing. So in case you missed this last week, you need to go back and watch because this was really cool. So this is actually white heat embossed onto navy. And then I pulled these out so you would know, I used these Stampin' blends to color the picture in. So you can see it's a little bit different, but one thing I did forget. I want to add this just because it kind of made it a little bit darker at the top. So, and I didn't really stay in the lines as well when I did this one, but I'm going to tell you a couple things. So I used dark soft suede, dark daffodil delight, light night of navy, dark real red, and dark poppy parade, I think. No, light cherry cobbler. So I might have used different ones last week, but that's what I used. So one other thing I'm going to show you is when you use these alcohol markers, depending on if you're being very careful or not, you'll end up with these little kind of like a shadow line from the marker, but quite honestly, I think it kind of lends to the picture because it gives you like a shadowy impression on the water there. Now I did get a little bit crazy when I was doing this today because I was just kind of filling it in for the heck of it. But so what we're going to do is we're going to die cut this. I also did one with the poppies, and I'm not exactly sure how this is going to go, but we're going to at least try it. And then the other one I grabbed was, so this one was from Sailing Home. I did painted poppies for this one, and I actually have a different idea for this too. I'll be sharing with you soon. And then I thought we could maybe try one with My Meadow, but this one we might actually do differently. So this one I'm going to save for the different one, for the different version, I should say. So the only other thing you're going to need for this are your stitched rectangles. And I suppose you probably could do this with any shape, but I think it looks particularly cool with the rectangles. So I have the ones taped together that I use, so I'll show you that. We'll do this one first. Another cool thing, just as a total sidebar, you might not have seen this before. I did this quite some time ago, but if you layer your rectangles together, I'm trying to see which way this lines up correctly. I think it's like this. So if you have a piece of cardstock and you layer your rectangles together, so for example, you can see several of these, not all of them, but several of these are taped together as equally spaced as I could. You can see these in the center here aren't. But if you run this over a piece of cardstock that you have, you could use it with DSP, so it had a pattern, which would be really cool, or plain. You actually can make these little frames. And then you could use these for your cards. Like if you wanted to add something to it, you could use different colors. So I have these saved in the back, but I'll show you on a piece of cardstock since we have the die cutting machine out. I'll show you afterwards. So I'm going to put this on the side so I remember to use it. But in the meantime, what I did was I have these guys taped up. And this is what I used from last week. So I just left them taped together since someone asked for a card. So this one is going to be at the top. So we'll do the top first, and then we're going to go around and switch the bottom. Now to make this simpler, I'm going to do the top on both of these the same. So we'll do both of these the same. And then we'll stamp the other one, and I'll show you how to change it afterwards, okay? One thing I'll tell you is it is a little bit stuffy in here today since it's raining. It's kind of humid. I probably should have turned the fan on, but it's all the way across the room, so I guess I'll have to sweat now. Let me turn this around this way. And I'm going to put this down so you can see exactly how it's lining up. Now, I did not purchase the new Stampin' Cut and Emboss machine yet, because I think I want to get the mini one to try, because my die cutting machine is still working, so I don't really have the extra cash fund to just buy one. So I figured when this one croaks, but I'm going to try the mini one when it comes out. I don't know when it's coming out, but it's coming out eventually. So for these, basically what you're going to do is you're going to do a rectangle. It doesn't matter which one. You just kind of have to decide which one you want to do. So you could also do this with, where are these? Kind of like two that are not too close in size. So you could do this one because it's a little wider if you wanted to. You could use these two. You could use like this bigger one and then this skinny one like that. So what you're going to do is you're going to just pick two. I just kind of randomly picked two. And you're going to tape them together on the back side. So you'll just grab a piece of, I like purple tape only because it releases really well once it's run through the die. But tape them together, and then that's how you're going to run it through, okay? So we're just picking a spot here. And my tape is pretty well used, so it shouldn't stick too much. So I'm making sure I still have a border up here on the side, and that it's, for the most part, straight. And I'm going to turn it only because you don't really want the straight lines going through with the die cut machine. So I have it turned just slightly. So then I'm going to put my plate on top. And we're going to run this through. Hi, Jean from Phoenix. Your big shot was dying because a die got caught in it. Yeah, that would be a problem. I could understand that. Okay, so we have 2 here. Now, I noticed once I did this, it does look a little bit crooked on the picture, but it's, for the most part, it doesn't really affect the picture because we're going to lift it up, so it kind of actually doesn't really matter. It works pretty well. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to lift this. You do want the mini. Me too. I just thought it would kind of be nice, like if you had maybe like a small crafting space. That's really why I wanted it, because I know a lot of people have small crafting spaces, and I just wanted to see how well it worked compared. Let's see. Okay, so I'm going to take this. So this is the one I cut. Because this has some embossing, it was just a little bit, I was trying to be really careful when I pulled this out because I don't want it to rip. So I'm going to set these 2 over here. And then in the meantime, we're going to do this one. So let's see. You know what? I might actually have to change because the orientation of this is different. So I'm going to finish this one up. So I fibbed. I'm sorry. So then what you're going to do, so you have your other piece here. And then what you're going to do is you're going to kind of just decide where do you want to relocate this one. So I kind of just tried to somewhat center it so it would be even. You don't want it to go over top of your other stitching though. So that's one thing you want to keep in mind. So I'm going to do the same thing with this one, and then I'm just going to turn this to the side. Where's my other cutting plate? Did I put it back? Here it is. And I'm going to run this through like that. No, I've heard the new one is really nice. I think it is considerably lighter. I think the only thing people wish is that it was electronic, because I know a lot of stampers, especially a lot of people I think that watch my channel, which I do appreciate, are older stampers, and eventually you kind of have trouble with cranking. So I do know they wish there was a electric crank. So then here is your piece. So all we're going to do is I'm going to set that on the side, and then we're going to save this. So in the meantime, now what we'll do is we're going to do this one. So now you can see kind of how you would line it up. So you're going to take your bigger piece, and we'll say we're going to do this one differently because we're going to do this one as a horizontal card. So we're going to kind of try to find the center, and then we'll bring this down. And they don't have to be right next to each other. I just happen to stick them next to each other. You can space them out a little bit if you want. Just be mindful you don't want to go too far spaced because you're going to need to fit it back in up here. And as a matter of fact, let's just try. Let me see. I wonder if this one will be. So we'll try something different. So we're going to try a big one and then a skinnier one. That way we'll have a little bit more wiggle room, and we'll separate these. So I'm going to put them together here. I'm just going to put this down just to hold. So hopefully that's straight. I can't really tell because I'm looking over top of a die cutting machine past the camera. We'll see. We're going to crank this through. And then we're going to I'm going to push it through so you guys can see again. So then I'm going to just remove just this one. And the only reason I want to leave this in place is so I can see where I put it, so I know it's lined up. So I'm just going to pop this piece out and set it over here on the side, and then we'll kind of do the same thing over here. So I'm going to lift this up so I can tape it. That seems to be about right. Now, you could probably also run this through with different sizes, and I'm just removing this so it doesn't really get stuck on there when it goes through a second time. But you could probably change sizes. This would probably be a really cool idea too to do with the triangles, which I have been wanting to get the triangles, but I haven't. So now I guess this is a good reason to get them. And I know also I did say not to put these through straight, but you know, sometimes I don't listen to my own advice, so don't do what I do. So let's see what this looks like. So I'm going to move this. pull this off, pull this one off. And I did cut these pieces down, I believe I did, to 4 1/4 by, no, 4 by 5 1/4. So there's going to be our layers for this one. So it does look pretty cool with the stitching, and granted we didn't do anything with this yet. One other thing I wanted to tell you, when I colored this in, I actually started stamping this with the Stamp with Bumblebee, and then I went back in with Light and Dark Daffodil Delight for this poppy. I filled the stems in with just jade, and then I added a little bit of light Granny Apple Green, and then I kind of was trying to make these look a little bit different. So these I did Dark Daffodil Delight, Light Mango Melody, Light Poppy Parade, and then I went back in and filled it in with the mango, which kind of gives you like that orangey sunburst look, which I think it looks really pretty. So I think that's pretty cool. The purple tape is a very low tack tape. It's called purple tape, as a matter of fact, if you Google it. You can find this on Amazon, on Simon Says Stamp. If I can find it on in my Amazon store, I'll pop a link on the blog post when I do it. But it's a really, really low tack tape, so it doesn't stick or rip when you run things through a die cut machine. So that's why I like using that. So there's that one. And here is this one. I'll put this together so you can see what it looks like, because we still have one more to do. So we have our sailboat, the top, and that, and then all we have to do is mount this. So how about, what we'll do is we are going to mount these cards. We'll finish putting these together. I'm only going to put this on the side because I still might add a die cut sentiment for both of these, and then we can go back and do the other one that I wanted to show you. So for this, I did this last time on Thick Whisper White, as you can see, and I think it turned out really, really cool. So I'm going to do that same thing again for this one. But this card, I think, has a lot of nice color that you could really swap this around with something. So what I'm going to do for this is, I think I'm going to do a layer and then put it onto a different layer. So I think I'm going to mount this onto, I want to do almost mango, and then maybe Poppy Parade or Bumblebee and Poppy Parade I think would look really pretty. So let me grab that. Let's see. I think mango would look really nice. And yeah, this is a really bright, sunny combination. So since you guys know what this looks like on here, I am going to just mount this really simply, and then we'll put something on this as well. This one I'm going to show you a little bit more what to do. I'm going to show you how to make this one into a smaller sentiment die cut, just in case you've never done that too. So that's how you do that one. So this one should be, let's hope this is big enough. Nope. Let me see. Hold the phone. Maybe I didn't cut this as small as I thought I did. Nope, 5 1/4. I'm going to trim this down just a smidge. Just going to take 1/8 off of each side. That's going to be close. Let's see. Birds are happy. This one I can definitely take more off of the bottom. Okay. So I cut that one down. Let me make sure this is actually accurate. So 5 by 4. Okay, 4 1/4 by 5. All right. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to mount this onto here first, and then we will put in our layers, because these we're going to put up onto something. So I have my base layer. Man, this feels really, this must not be, this is old. This paper seems super floppy. I wonder if somehow this was like an old piece. It doesn't feel quite as thick to me. Don't mind me, I'm just talking myself through things here. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to use my liquid glue, and the reason I'm going to use that is because in case I need to adjust any of this stuff down, I'm going to just go around the edge there. And then I'm going to put a little bit onto this. Oh, there it is. Okay, and I want to make sure, oh geez Louise, I want to make sure I have this straight. Just like so. So the nice part is I didn't have that lined up there very evenly, but the good part about using liquid glue is you can kind of wiggle it around and move it. So two things, you can do this two different ways. You can either, I'm going to pull this out so I can show you. You could have done this ahead of time. You could have die cut these with those rectangles so they would fit exactly, or you can kind of just piece it together. So I'm just going to do that. So I have a little piece here, which I'm going to need to trim a little bit off of that one. No biggie. A little bit off of that one. And we'll measure this one, just approximation. So this is the double-sided foam adhesive. And I'm just going to stick this on the back. So then we have another piece to pull off here. This I'm going to just trim down. Let's see. How much will we need? Just a little bit. Like that. And about the same with this one. And I do apologize if I'm doing any camera shaking. It's me still trying to get used to this little string hanging here. Okay, so same thing again. Now when you have these pieces, you can layer them in. This one needs some more or else it's going to be floppy. So hold on, I'm going to add a couple more. So I would say if you're going to do this, add a full strip. You could even do this with the foam strips instead. But again, you don't want to mix and match, okay? If you're using foam strips, just use foam strips. If you're using dimensionals, just use dimensionals because they are different heights. So they will look wonky if they don't match. Trust me, I've done it and it does not look pretty. And then all of the time that you use to put something together, you're just going to be irritated. So make sure that you take your time when you're doing this. I'm going to put a little more piece here. Almost too small, but that's okay. To trim this off just a smidge. Little smidge. No, these are for these pieces, they're actually double-sided, so there's adhesive on both sides. So just pick one, and then you're going to flip it to the other one when you're ready for that part, okay? So I'm going to save that. This is all trash. Okay, so same thing again, and I am going to do this just to be on the safe side. So you're going to peel off your second backing, and I think raising these onto some sort of a foam strip or dimensional is really what makes the card, because if you just glued them down, it was kind of be like, it probably look okay, but I think the raised part is really what makes it look cool. So I put a little bit of liquid glue on the back because that will give you the spot of, you can see it's sliding. So if you need to move it a little bit, it'll give you that sliding ability. So there's one. Doesn't really matter which one you start with. And originally, I was going to just put that sentiment on there as well. And then I kind of thought, I'll just pop it up like I did the other one. So same thing, there's a little bit of liquid glue on there. Oops. Make sure it's nicely centered. There's that one. And then last one, and then we'll add our sentiment to this one. So when I do the other one, I'll put the sailboat one together. I'll do that one with dimensional so you can see what it looks like. Oh, scoot that over just a smidge. Okay, so then you have your raised pieces. Now I do want to put this still onto the base. Make sure that's opening correctly. You know what I think? I think this Poppy Parade is from when Poppy Parade was out the very first time. And I feel like the weight of the cardstock with Stampin' Up! Has increased a little bit. And that's probably why it's heavier. Because you can definitely tell this piece was some where I was cleaning the other night. And I was putting things back that I hadn't used that were in just a gigantic pile of, I don't want to say trash pile, but a pile of abandoned ideas. And I think I pulled that out from there because you can definitely tell it's not quite as thick. Okay, so for the painted poppies, what I'm going to do is, you know, we do have this other peaceful moments. So let's just do thank you. As a matter of fact, I have made a pack of thank yous for those people I was talking about earlier that gave me that really cute elephant, but I didn't give it to them yet. So I will add this in with that as a thank you. All right, so let me show you. I'm going to grab a scrap. Do I have any scraps? I cleaned up all my scraps. You guys would be so proud of me. You have no idea how much stuff I threw away. I'm very proud of myself. So to make this kind of inclusive with the same thing, instead of using black, I'm going to use Poppy Parade to kind of bring the base. And then I'm going to show you what I wanted to. All right, so let's see. I'm going to stamp this. Actually, this one's going to work out pretty well, I think. So I don't think we'll need to go back and die cut this, but I'll show you how you could do it if you wanted to. So if you wanted this to be, we can actually make this a little smaller. We'll go ahead and do it just for the sake of doing it. I'm going to show you what I mean. So say if this rectangle was just too big for your sentiment, but you didn't have the exact size you want to do, you can use partial die cutting to get the size that you want. So I'm going to move that over so I don't smudge it. And I'll show you just what I mean. So you're going to put it down and you're going to die cut it, but I'm going to move it to the end so it's really close to the T in the thank you. And I'm just going to put this just here like that. And I'm going to cut here. Oh, black dimensionals, you could definitely use that, absolutely. If I can pull them out, I will use them. If I can get to them without knocking over my camera. So then what you're going to do, so you have your die cut piece, right? So you're going to put this, we'll save this for our lighthouse. So then you're kind of like, I really want it shorter. It's just not quite, it doesn't fit enough. So what you'll do is you'll just take your rectangle and you'll slide it down and you actually will feel this grip into the previously cut hole. So all we want to do is cut this one little part now. So I'm going to put this on here just to hold it in place. But I'm going to turn it this way because it's easier to start with your plate in. So I'm going to stick my plate in and I really only want to cut this part right here because I need this thing to cut. So I'm going to put it in and then just crank it. And it only needs a little bit to cut. And then you can do this with pretty much any die. You have a custom die cut. So it cut off this little teeny thing. And look how cute this ended up being. You could probably put a really tiny sentiment. And you know, I'm going to keep that for something because maybe I might be able to use it before we're done for the day. So then what I'm going to do with this, let me move this over once more, is I have this little piece here. And we could pop this up. But since it's kind of like the same with the color instead of being on navy, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my, where is it? My mango marker. If you don't have a mango marker, you could do this with your pad. You just want to be really careful. Or you could also use a blender pen. And I'm just going to go around the edge with my mango marker. Just so it kind of sticks off from the white, so it's not too much like white on white on white, because then it kind of makes it hard to distinguish what is what. Okay, so there's that. You could also use your Stampin' blends if you wanted to. So then I'm going to pop this up and I'm going to put just one little dimensional. I have this one little piece left and I'm going to kind of put this up here in the center-ish to the right. So we'll see. That looks pretty good there. And then what I'm going to do is just put a little bit of glue kind of right here, because I know it's going to hook to this bottom part here. Pull this off. I'm going to put a little glue on here just in case I don't really like where it is so we can move it. So we'll say right like that. So that glue I put on the bottom is there. And then I had glue on my foam strip, which I could have put a little bit more, but so then you have like another pop. You could have outlined this in another, you could have used another layer. So for example, since we cut this down, what we could have done is we could have cut this out in another color and it would lay just slightly behind there and you would see just a little stitched edge. So really simple for that. And then let's do this one. Let me just grab, I'm pretty sure I already have a piece of thick whisper white cut. So give me one sec. Yep. I say yup, but I mean nope. So we're going to cut one. Just going to cut this out. Oh, there's my trash. And this one also isn't scored, but I'm not going to risk getting out the Simply Scored and making a mess. Okay, so now same for this one. Goof that up just a little. Same for this one. I'm going to go ahead and put the glue on here. I'm going to do it this way. That way I don't do it the goofy way like I did last time. And while I'm at it, get this out so I don't get glue all over my card. So I'm just going to put just a little teeny bit of glue right there. And oops. The silicone mat is nice because if you get glue on it, you can just wait for it to dry and just brush it off so it does come off really easily. Move this over here for a minute. So this is my thick whisper white panel. Again, you can see when I lay that down, I did not line it up very well at all. So the liquid glue allows you to be able to move stuff around a little bit. It doesn't last forever. I don't want you to think you could just like move stuff forever because you definitely can't. But all right, so here are our pieces. So, oh, did I order? I swear, I thought I ordered black dimensionals, but looks like all I have left are the tiny tinies. So instead, what I'll do is I'm going to use the edges. So here's one. Pretty good size-wise. Do the same on this side. I'm going to make it a little longer because it could have been a little bit longer. I probably made it too long this time. Oh, no. Miracle. Okay, so there are those two pieces. So they're all ready to go. Then I'm going to just do the inside here. So I'll just kind of pop this with a couple. So has anybody gone to a stamp class lately with Corona still going on? Has anybody gone to one? Has anybody had fun or learned anything new? So I'm doing my first stamp club since February. We haven't done any since February. And I am going to still attempt to keep my online club going because I really think it's been really challenging for me to do it, which I think sometimes I need a challenge. So I'm going to put a little bit of liquid glue on this again just to give it the wiggle room. So Julie went to one on Monday. Amy, oh, you're not going to yours on Friday night? Huh. Wonder where you're going. Amy is actually one of my downlines, so she's coming to my stamp club, so we'll see how that goes. Hopefully it'll be fun. I'm going to do the same thing here. Going this Thursday for the first time. No classes, thank goodness for me online. Oh, thanks, Char. That's super nice. Now, still going to your monthly class. Okay, that's good, Vicky. Have you had fun? Has it been less people? I'm just lining this up. Same thing again. You have stamp class on Monday night. Excited to see everyone. Oh, cool. That's nice. I tell you what, it's weird because you really miss the people. Like, even just like seeing them and like, you know, everybody goes and you can get out your frustrations of everything. 6 foot apart or wearing masks. See, now our place where we're going to on Friday is really, really large and there's not as many people going because coincidentally, I happened to pick the weekend where people actually have plans, which is just a shocker and kind of funny at the same time, right? So there you go. That's with the black dimensionals. So I'm going to show you the difference. You can definitely see that the foam strips stick up a little bit higher, but it still looks cool. And then we're going to do the same thing, but I'm going to use a different sentiment. I'm actually going to use one from Sailing Home. And what I think I might even do is use the die just to give like a little bit of a different look for this one. I think that's the one that matches. We'll see. We're gonna stamp it and see. Now for this one, I'm just not sure. Do I want to do navy or do we want to do like poppy, or I want to say yellow. Yellow might not really look super good. You know, bumblebee might not look bad on there though. Let's try bumblebee. I haven't done that one in a while. Let's try that one. You miss your crafting sisters. I understand. I think you are not alone in that. I think a lot of people feel that way. All right, so what I'm going to do is, and I have done this before, but maybe you missed it, because this is a little inky. It's a little too inky, so I'm going to take my very special spoon, and I'm going to move the ink to one side. That way I'm not absorbing it and wasting it. I'm kind of just scooting it over. So there's that. And let me clean this off, and we're going to try it one more time. You know what? I had a funny thought, and I was trying to remember what it was from. So I'm going to tell you guys this, and hopefully it'll make you laugh. But has anyone here ever seen, and I'm sure you have because it's older, My Big Fat Greek Wedding? Has anybody seen that? And I'm going to give you a second to see if you know what it is I'm going to talk about. So when you move the ink over, now granted I know this is upside down, and it's a little dark in here, so I apologize. It's usually brighter. It's very gummy. It doesn't give good detail. But when you just move the ink back, it gives you like that nicer, crisp image that you can actually see much better when you're stamping. So if you've done that and your inky image, try moving it with your special magic spoon. Sometimes that helps. Let's see if this works. Okay, so on My Big Fat Greek Wedding, if you guys have seen it, a couple of you sound like you have. Do you remember when the lead character, she was working, she finally got a job in the travel business with her family, and her boyfriend, well, her soon-to-be boyfriend came in, and she was still hooked up to the phone thing, and she jerked her cord and pulled herself backwards and fell over? That is what I envision happening to me with this camera. So just brace yourself, because one day you may see me and you'll see like the ceiling or something, because I accidentally ripped the camera off of the holder here. But every time I back up, it just makes me laugh. I think that is just so hilarious. Oh, yeah. Yeah, so the reason, in case you missed that with the liquid glue, I put that on there in case it doesn't line up, so you can kind of have a little space to adjust it. So here I'm going to show you, and we're going to see if this will work. I don't know if it will. It might not. So we're going to test it out. So here is our little die. Now that looks all fine and dandy there, but instead let's try to take this one up a notch so it just looks a little different. So I'm going to try to do this die cut a teeny bit bigger. I'm not going for anything massive, and what is in my mind may or may not actually work out, but I have a piece of Poppy Parade. So let's try this. So in case you guys happen to see the ceiling, wouldn't it be funny? It would be funny after the fact. I think I probably would be a little bit embarrassed, but then I'd kind of be like, okay. So what I'm going to do is I'm kind of picking a halfway point, and I'm going to cut. Let's see if this works. And I'm going to try my best not to move it. Okay, so I have my cutting plate. I'm going to slide this back. And you know what? Because this is lined up it pretty exactly, I don't know if it's going to work this way. That's all right. We're going to try it anyway. Might be an extra lump. We'll try this. So then what I'm going to do is I'm going to move it just a teeny bit, and it's going to have like this extra lump, but it might be covered up. We'll see. We'll see what it looks like. This might be a dud idea. So then I'm going to cut only on this part back. So I'm actually going to turn it around, because it's easier for me if I feed the extra cutting plate in to do partial die cutting versus having it hang off the back. So I'm going to cut just, and I could move this down some, would make it a little simpler. I'm going to cut here. So I have, there's a stitched part here and past, so we're going to see what this looks like. This might look ridiculous, and maybe you just want to cut an extra one and slice it in half, so we'll see. Let's see. It didn't cut the one part of it. I had a feeling that would happen. Well, it was a good thought. So I missed just this teeny little piece here. Let's see what this looks like if we would lay it on top. Actually, you know what? It kind of might cover it up. So you win some, you lose some. This one I think we can still make work. So we'll give it a try. You never know. It's always an adventure when you're stamping with me, right? I'm just going to very gently pull this out. It's just a little piece that's not connected, and it might be okay enough that we're going to put this, and it's almost going to cover it. And you know what? We're just going to pretend like it's not there. There's like a teeny little piece here that's going to nip and it'll stick out. So I'm going to cut this, and I'm going to cut this little teeny nip piece here. Okay. You know what? You live and you learn, right? And again, I'm not going to use the black dimensionals because we are using regular Whisper White. It's not thick, so it might show through. So I'm just going to put a couple of dimensionals here. I might as well do 4. Should have just gone with 4 from the beginning. And if you don't like this, you can always just cut another Poppy Parade die cut the exact same size. And what you could do is you could cut it in half and then put half above and half below, or half to the left and half to the right. But we'll see. See what that looks like. That's pretty even. That actually doesn't look too bad, in all honesty. And then we'll put this. It's kind of a little big though. You have to put this down at the bottom. Kind of a little larger than I wanted, and I'm going to put dimensionals, that way this part will glue up here and then this part will be just regularly glued at the bottom. And let's see, I'm going to put, that should be enough. So I just put these 2 down here, that way I could kind of see where I wanted them. And then same thing again with this, just a little bit of glue on the top. I'll make sure I took the sticky off. Okay, so different. Maybe not my favorite. I think I like still the original one better, but it's still a pretty cool idea. So something different, something new. Okay, that was mango. So what I'm going to do, and I'm going to show you the very last one. What time do we have? 10:15. I think I can probably try to whip this one out really quickly. So this was our original one. This is the one we just did now. This was our different version with the poppies. So I'm going to show you one more. Let me move these things over and put this back real quick so I don't forget where that one is. So for this last one, I'm going to try doing something with my meadow. Now, this one I may not finish until afterwards, because what I'm going to do with it to start is possibly going to need to have some additional work done afterwards. So I'm going to grab a piece, so just a piece of Whisper White. I'm going to do my best to kind of whip this one out kind of quickly. So let's see, we have tree, do that one, we'll do water. See if this will fit on here. Water. We'll do our gazebo. Trying to think what else I want. Let's just do that for now. That way we don't have too much. So I'm going to start with, oh geez, there's a few things in the way of my ink color that I wanted. Hold on, I'm going to see if I can do this without wrecking everything. Got out espresso and soft suede. Okay, so I'm going to do the gazebo in soft suede. And this isn't going to be really broadly spread out. As a matter of fact, you know what I'm going to do first is I'm going to do my water in Seaside Spray. Because this is just meant to be something small, and you'll see in a minute. I'm actually not even going to use this entire piece. So we'll put our water, and you might be like, why would you have a gazebo on water? But why not, right? Be kind of neat. So there's our gazebo. I am giving this a second because these are photopolymer stamps, so it does take a second for the ink to kind of come off of there. Probably wouldn't want your gazebo completely in water if you were actually planning one, but I'm sure you guys know that. So then early espresso, we're just going to bring in, got that on my finger, a couple trees. One. Oh, maybe this is a pond. How about that? It could be a pond, because that way I don't even have to color in the trees, right? So we have our pond, our frozen pond with our gazebo and our trees. The trees kind of feel a little bit naked though, so we might have to add, what do we have here in the background that we can use? Yeah. How about some snowflakes? I'm going to use these little teeny things here. And is it this one? Nope, it's this one. I'm going to use these and pretend that it's snowing. So we're going to make a little snow scene. Now, my snowflakes are going to have to be blue for them to show up. So bear with me. You're going to have to suspend your reality a little bit. You know, they kind of have that little light illusion color. So we'll just kind of put, I'm going to separate them all over the place that way. Some are light, some are dark. I'm sure we probably have something that's more of a realistic snow look. Okay, so we're going to stop there. And this is, I'm going to show you why. So what we're going to do is, it could be underwater. That is a very good statement. Let's hope not though, right? Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to pick 3, and I'm trying to find one that's like big enough, but not too big. Where is this one? Hold on. Got to get my thought process here. Okay. I think we can make this work, because if that goes down there and then this one can go up here. All right, follow me for this one. It's going to feel like it's crazy. I'm actually going to start with the higher one first. And we're not even going to get all of this in. All right, so here's what we're going to do. I'm going to do 2 things at one time. I'm going to die cut this to show you what I mean, and I'm going to try my best to stamp it on something, and then we're going to die cut this so you can see those layers, and then hopefully I'll be able to put this together. If we run over a few minutes, is that going to hurt anybody's feelings? Because in order for me to finish this one, we might need to run over just a minute or 2, or 5 or 10. All right, so here's one. So I'm going to show you what I mean. I'm going to stick this back up here. Okay, so then what you're going to do is we're going to just lift this. Okay. And we're going to only lift this one. Then we're going to put this one down here. And I didn't quite keep the spacing exactly the same, but I'm going to space it to the edge, and you're going to see why afterwards. And I'm just going to put this here, okay? And I'm going to actually move this piece off so when it goes through again, it doesn't make it more stuck. I'm going to leave that. And we're going to cut this. Okay, so I'm going to take a real quick side break, and you might be like, what is she doing? But I'm going to show you, what do we have here that's easy to get to? This one. This one should be easy. Okay, so what I was showing you earlier, I'm just going to run this through. That way I can show you, and then I'll finish that one up. So you will take all of your dies that you have, for the most part, pretty equally spaced. I'm just going to add one more little piece here. And you can kind of put this, so you see you have like an even edge. It doesn't need to be exact. Okay, then I'm going to run this through. Now this will be for like later. And depending on how many dies you have, I'm going to go back and forth. But basically what you've done right now is you've created a whole bunch of frames for yourself. So you have all these layers of frames that you can use, and these need to be run through a little bit more because I missed the top here. But you'll have all these layers that you can use for like adding to cards or whatever the case may be, okay? So one other thing, and this is just a suggestion, when you do this, if you ever get to the point where you're trying to die cut, this is just a good refresher for everybody, and say it's just not cutting the way you want, flip it so your dies are facing up, and then run it back through. And a lot of times what'll happen is the blades will hit the top differently, and it will really, really cut through your pieces here. So you can see these should all pop right out. I still missed the bottom here for some reason. I think my stamp, see, this is the one reason where I do worry about my Big Shot, because I think that my roller doesn't hit the pressure because some of my dies are a little bent because I didn't run them through exactly how I should have, but now you can see. So you can see everything is all cut there. So these will all just pop out, and then you'll have all these frames to use to layer onto your cards. You have middle frames, and you could do these with a bunch of different colors, and then you can layer them onto your cards. So total side note there. So sorry about that complete little road trip we took, but I did want to show you guys that before we left today. Okay, so here's where we're going to end up with our cards. We have these pieces. So this piece we're going to get rid of. And here's what we're going to do. And this is where I probably should have grabbed one other thing that I needed ahead of time. So it doesn't really matter if it's necessarily lined up or not. So you could have them together if you wanted to have them a little bit more lined up together. You could have them up and kind of down like we did. The other thing you could do when you do this, just thinking after the fact, is you could cut the same die even 3 times. So you could have done like 1, 2, 3 across this. That way it would have been centered more. But this is my first one that I've ever made of these. So I don't really have 100% of the skill of what I was trying to go for yet. So I'm going to grab a piece of Seaside, and just to make it a little bit lighter, I'm going to grab a piece of crumb cake. Okay, so I'm going to fold my crumb cake in half. Here's another one that needs to be trimmed. I apparently didn't trim this one right either. We'll cut this after the fact. So we have our crumb cake. So I'm going to go ahead and just trim this down just a smidge. Here's one, and I want to cut this down to 4 by 5 1/4. Oh, look, it's even off on that side. This one's going to be a little bit skinnier. When in doubt and you're live, trim it out. I'm going to trim this down just a little bit more, just so I can ensure that it fits on there. Okay, so I end up putting this one to 3 3/4 by 5, and this is onto a slightly smaller base, okay? And I do have to unplug just for 1 sec. I'm going to take this off and set this here. Try not to make it massively annoying. Clip it right here so it doesn't go anywhere. I have to grab something. Okay. Put this back on. Sorry about that. All right, so what we're going to do is we're going to take our buffalo check, and I'm going to take my Seaside spray, and I'm not doing anything huge. I inked it on there just because it's easier. Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the clean side of a sponge, and I kind of just want to soften the edges because I don't want anything to be too harsh of a line. And then I'm just going to take this piece and just kind of stick a piece on it. So you have kind of like that little patch of buffalo check. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to take this here. I forgot that piece. We're going to glue this. You could also use 2 different colors if you wanted to. Up to you. And then we're going to put this like that. Okay, but I want to do one more thing. So I want to put some dimensionals on the back. Where are my dimensionals? Here they are. So this is a different way that you could do it, kind of using, I guess you would say, just the positive instead of using the negative of it. So I'm just going to put these on with dimensionals just to show you, just in case. You can still do it with what you have, in case you might not have the foam strips or the foam sheets or whatever the case may be. So before I do that, I'm going to do one more thing. I have those 3 pieces and I want to put just a little bit of something, but I'm trying to see which. Oh, this one will work really nicely. This is that ribbon that's kind of like you look at it in the catalog, but you're like, I don't really know how that's going to look. It's embroidered ribbon. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my scissors, and for this one I think I'm actually going to put down some adhesive. I'm going to do, let's see, Stampin' Seal. Like that. So I'm just going to put some right across the middle there. So here, before I do that, let me just make this so it looks slightly nicer. I must not have put enough down here. Okay. So then I'm going to eyeball these. In case you ever have trouble with dimensionals, again, back to a long time ago, if you just kind of make a fingernail mark in them, they'll come off really easy. You could use your paper piercer. You could use the piercing end of the take your pick tool. And we're going to put this here. We have one. I probably should have moved this over just a little. I'm not really pushing it hard because I want to make sure I have this lined up in the right space. This needs to come up a little bit more. My ribbon probably should have been a teeny bit longer, just FYI. There we go. So, kind of work in progress. Probably be better off if you had used some sort of a twine. I'm going to do the end one first, that way I can make sure it's kind of lined up, and then this one will go up in the middle. A little bit more spacing, maybe the first time, not necessarily the ribbon, and see what it looks like first. So that way you can see this part lines up with this part. And we missed the tree section only because we don't have that side of the gazebo. So I'm going to go up a little bit more. And down a little bit more with this one. But something different. Come on. Don't you love it when dimensionals stick where they're not supposed to? Like all over your socks as you're walking around the house or whatever, right? Okay, so that one was a little bit of a stretch because we had to do a little bit extra. You certainly could have used this though for this scene if you wanted to. You can see the spacing is just a teeny bit off, which is no big deal. But we could have also used the same size, so gone like 1, 2, 3. So you can kind of play it around to see what way you like it the best. But let me just move as much of this out of the way as possible, and I'll bring in the cards that we made so you can see. This one I think turned out really pretty. I really like the colors on that one as well. This one was our one from last week, and then here is our redo that we did with that as well. So thank you guys so much for joining me, for sticking with me, for hanging out today through the good, the bad, and the ugly. Some days you just never know what you're going to get. I really appreciate you guys hanging out though, for the likes, the shares, especially the shares and the likes. Thank you so much for that. If you're watching this after the fact on YouTube, you can always leave a comment. I do check every comment on YouTube, so thank you very much for doing that. I do my best to check all the comments on Facebook, but they only let you comment back on so many a day or else you get put in Facebook jail. So that sometimes prohibits me from doing that as much as I would like to. Again, if you're watching this and you're on YouTube, make sure you do leave a comment because I will go through and do a separate drawing for a tipsy winner on YouTube as well. So anyone who's watching here, it always does pay to go baby and check out some tips that you might not have known the first time on YouTube because there's always less commenters on there. So you kind of have a better chance of winning something if we're being honest. But I thank you guys very much. Again, if you do need to get anything, I would love for you to use this host code. You can shop using this for the next week in my online store, which is rachthestamper.stampinup.net. I hope you all have a wonderful rest of your day, and I will try to get on and do a drawing for this on Friday. So I will see you all then. Thanks for watching.